So what was going on with Sonic Youth before this record was being made? Like before you even started writing it, like where was the band at?
So, I mean, we basically we're a bit frustrated with our, I guess, distribution. You know, we had a label in England, Blast First, and then we had well, then we were on SST, and Paul Smith from Blast First made a deal with Capitol Records. So we thought things were going to be better, you know, distribution wise. Anyway, so, and every time we made a record, we seemed to be switching rehearsal spaces. For this record, we kind of crazy. I believe, wrote it in this really this basement that was about in a building in Nolita that they used to build ships in, and it was we're like 2 or 3 floors underground or something in this kind of hideous space where all these bands rehearsed. It was a long, narrow space, and each band had like their little space. But I don't think there were any. There were no walls. It was just like scheduling. And anyway, we started, I think, rehearsing first in this. No, that was another record. Anyway, so we basically, yeah, wrote the songs, most of the songs there, and then at some point we had to leave that space, and we ended up using the Blast First office, which was upstairs in the building, and we wrote actually. I think we wrote maybe the Sprawl there. I'm sorry, my memory is not so good.
No, you're good.
It's either we wrote the Sprawl there or Teenage Riot. Whatever it was kind of like a major song for the record. And since we were on this kind of not exactly a major label, we had a little more money to record. And we decided to go to Green Street, which was a studio that I believe Phil Glass owned. And they did a lot of some major hip hop there, like Public Enemy had recorded there, and that really excited us. So we ended up recording with an engineer who had never recorded guitar music before.
Nick Sensano.
Yes.
Okay, I said it right. Yes.
And I forget what the board was. It was a great analog board. There were 2 rooms. One was like an analog board, and the other was like a super high-tech room where they just basically mixed stuff. It was like might have even been a 48-track board sometime. So we recorded there, and it was somehow like it worked because our music, like maybe Nick understood the density of it, and so it was a bit like rap music, or specifically maybe Public
Enemy. Yeah, dude, it's so, because my first thing was when I read the thing about how you worked with Nick, and Nick, had primarily worked with all these different hip hop acts, especially Public Enemy. I was curious, did it just luck into it where he was there, or was it like did he pitch to you, or because I could see like a producer and an engineer being like, "Ooh, I've never worked with a guitar sound. I would love to see how I could do with that."
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that at all. It was really like we were just really excited to be working in what was a more sort of, we felt, professional recording situation.
Sure.
And yeah, for some reason it didn't bother us, like that he'd never recorded or maybe we didn't even realize it.
It was weird that during the recording, he was like, you know, it would be great if you could just wear a gigantic clock, Kim, and keep asking what time it is.
Well, it was funny hanging out there because the waiting room was quite small, and
Yeah.
When Public Enemy was working in the other room when we were there, sometimes Chuck would be waiting for Flavor Flav for like 48 hours to show up, and you would just hear his like floppy feet coming down the steps, and he would just come in with like, you know, sort of an entourage.
Please tell me that when you finally got to meet Flava Flav, he was like, yeah, boy, just all flaving out.
But I don't think, you know, he really cared who I was. I mean, I was just like you know, like some white chick sitting there. Like, I don't think he knew anything. You know, it was more like he was probably thinking about being hounded for alimony.
Oh yeah. He's got real life issues.
You know, he had always had lots of excuses, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he was clearly like an important figure for the band, so he was worth waiting for. Anyway, basically, I don't even remember how long we took to. I'm sure if you interview Nick, he can tell you so much more about what happened than I can.
I wish I could interview Flava, and Flava was like, man, they were in there for about 4.5 weeks. I would dip in, the music was flowing.
Yeah. But we also had like a tight deadline. I remember we were remixing Cool Thing. We stayed up all night and then went up to the mastering session because we had a deadline, you know, for getting that done for the record coming out on the tour. And so yeah, basically we didn't, you know, we probably did like you know, typically like drums and bass and then overdub guitars, or did like scratch guitars.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. And yeah, so the song Cool Thing, it was a song really about LL Cool J. Because I had to write an article on him for The Voice, and I interviewed him, or maybe it was for Spin. It was for Spin. I interviewed him, and I was really curious when he worked with Rick Rubin on that first record.
Yeah.
Radio, like how much of the sampling was his idea, or what was his view on rock, or what did he like, and was it all Rick, you know, Rick's kind of input?
Yeah.
And I was disappointed to find out that Bon Jovi was his favorite rock band.
Why do people?
So that's where it was a little bit like, you know, don't meet your idols or whatever, because you'll be disappointed, you know. But you know, Thurston had a good point. He was like, well, they probably like Rick. I think actually probably. I mean, you know, the big chords are good probably for rap, you know, especially all the time minimal rap. So anyway, it was my assignment to ask Chuck D if he would do something on Cool Thing in this middle part, which was also a song inspired by Bootsy Bootsy Collins, and also Jane Fonda. And
what were you, who had the fascination with Jane Fonda? I mean, she is a very fascinating character. I mean,
yeah,
feminist, actress, sex symbol.
It was sort of about her. I mean, it was me. It was like, well, we had done this video with Raymond Pettibone. Me and Thurston were in it, called The Weather Underground. I don't know if you're familiar with Raymond Pettibone's work or his films, but they were hilarious. Like the scripts were amazing. And this one, you know, it's a little bit of a twisted view of things. And it was kind of like I played Bernadette Dorn, and he sort of made it seem like she just really had a crush on like the Black Panthers, and kind of like, and there was a Jane Fonda mentioned in the mix, like I need to like sleep with a Black Panther. So that became this kind of, I kind of combined a few ideas. And so I asked Chuck, and he surprised me because what he did was perfect, but it was also like maybe the most cliched thing he could do. Which is to say, like, word up, tell it like it is. Like, I was like, but it works.
Sure.
It was actually perfect, and yeah. So that was the story with that song.
So, all right. So the band. So you put out. This is your fourth album. Daydream's your fourth album. So the other ones, if I'm not mistaken, what you said was with a minor label. This is your first one with a major.
Actually, it's kind of our fifth record.
This is your fifth record.
Well, the first record was an EP. It just said Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
Confusion, Bad Moon Rising, Evil, Daydream.
So you so this is your fifth record. Like, how is the band gelling at this point? Going into that studio session, like, did you guys have any idea that you were going to be making a record that, for the most part is going to be one that's talked about? I mean, of course, you're not like making something saying this is going to be our big one, but what was the vibe like between the band members?
It was good. I mean, we decided to make a double album. So,
yeah.
And, just to fuck with people, I guess. That's the basic idea. And and then when we did the artwork, we chose signs the way Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So we each had a sign. And no, but it was it's kind of like, to quote Jay Mascis, being in a band and playing music isn't about fun. It's not really, you're not necessarily doing it for fun. It's some other, maybe that's the way it starts out, or it's really kind of like, I don't know, it's like compulsive desire, like.
But did you have any idea when you were younger that you wanted to end up in this situation?
No, not at all. In fact, this brings me to, so the other day, an old friend and my mentor passed away, this artist, Dan Graham. And he's kind of responsible for changing the course of my life in many ways. He was an artist who, he worked in a lot of media. He wrote, he was really like obsessed with music, and he also made sculpture pavilions, and he came out of conceptual art. He was, and poetry, and poetry, then conceptual art. And he, in the very beginning, he, when I met him in California, I moved to New York, I looked him up, and I ended up living below him as an apartment opened up. And he had this, his most kind of famous piece, I guess, is this performance piece called Audience Mirror Performance, where he had a mirror, like a full wall length mirror behind him, and he would stand and he would describe the audience looking at him, and then he would turn around and describe himself in his maybe awkward gestures, and he had the habit of talking like always scratching his head with his finger like this. So he'd describe himself in this self-conscious way and the audience behind him. And he had done the piece in various situations. And he asked me, he was writing about girls in rock and feminism and stuff. And he asked me if I wanted to form an all-girl band to do this performance piece, where we would kind of stop maybe after each song and interact with the audience in some way. So he introduced me to this girl, Miranda, who played bass, who's Michael Schamberg's girlfriend, who's made videos and films, and he actually made videos for New Order, and he was in the art world as well. So, and then we asked this girl, Christine Hahn, who was playing in a no-wave band called The Static with Glenn Branca, and Barbara S. Dan also introduced me to no wave and took me to gigs, and he was just really into the downtown music scene. And so anyway, our band name was CKM, our initials, and I played guitar and I wrote lyrics taken from magazine ads, women's magazine ads and stuff. Like there's one called Cosmopolitan Girl, which was kind of a talking blues song.
Sure.
So we did this performance, which according to Dan, we didn't do it correctly. Like the drummer, Christine, got up and went to the bathroom after one song. And anyway, it was very it was very nerve-wracking, but afterwards I felt like it was thrilling. I had this sort of afterglow the next day of having really done something or gone on a new path, or what am I going to do now? Because I had moved to New York to be an artist.
Sure.
Anyway, then Christine left because she went to play with this German all-girl band, and we never really found a good replacement. So, but she was playing music with Thurston at the time, and she introduced me to Thurston, who was in this band, The Coachmen, and we went to their last show, basically. So I started playing with him and this girl, Anna Marinus, who was a keyboardist, and we did that for a while, and then so someone wasn't really working, and we asked Lee, who we knew around, if he wanted to join us. Anyway, so in a way, Dan kind of set me off on this trajectory of playing music, and also writing. Like he encouraged me to write. And, So, and he also introduced me to this German artist who was kind of doing residencies in New York, Lisa Ginskin, who married Gerhard Richter, who did the Candle Flame. So it's weird the way Dan.
The way it all came together, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of a.
All right, so let's shift back one to Daydream. Because I love how you brought up some of the stuff that was going on in the scene. What was the music scene like at that time as you started working? Were there bands that were inspiring you or kind of pushing you to start thinking outside of the box and just to dive deeper into your sound?
Not really musically, but Pussy Galore, I think, was still happening.
Yeah.
Galore, and what's this other band? They're kind of like East Village scum rock scene.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
I can't remember the name of but I remember like Michael Levine, who took the pictures inside. He was shooting. He was shooting a lot of bands, and we liked his work a lot, so we asked him to shoot. I remember it was so hot when we did that shoot, walking around in New York. Just really, like, you can in the photo on the inside, you can really see the grime of New York in a way. I feel like in the air. But trying to think. Like we've been touring quite a bit, so I think we didn't feel that much a part of the scene at this point anymore.
Yeah.
In the same way. Yeah.
So basically, already at that point, you had already figured out your sound and the direction of what you kind of wanted the band to be, right?
Well, not really. We we never really. I mean, it was all very organic. It was very learn by doing.
Yeah.
Stuff like when we first started playing, it was very like, let's get a gig at CB's. There's some talk to Hillary Crystal. Let's get a gig at Danceteria, at my club. It's very gradual. And Glenn Branca started a record label, backed by this guy we knew who ran White Columns, which was an alternative space where Thurston curated the Noise Fest.
Yeah.
It came out of all the clubs kind of closing and nowhere to play. And the owner of Hurrah saying, all the music just sounds like noise, Which, so noise then was considered a derogatory term, very much so. Yeah, but there was like this sort of, I think Richard Kern was in a band called the Black Snakes, and White Zombie, that's what I was trying to think of.
Wait, so you're in the same, you're in the same like music scene as White Zombie at the time?
No, not really. See, we weren't really a part of that scene.
Okay.
That's what that scene was going on, that kind of,
I didn't realize White Zombie was a scene.
well, it was like Black Snakes, White Zombie, kind of Pussy Galore,
Sure.
And other bands that I can't really remember. So that was like 87, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 87.
All right. So I was looking at like kind of like the timeline of what's going on in some of the lyrics. Well, actually, here, cut that out, Peter. Let's pick it up from here. So you start working on this record. How different was the recording process for this record compared to all the other ones? Because I know this from what I read, a lot of this came out from a lot of jams. Like how much of this record was just like the four of you just like in a room, just playing for hours, and then like, holy shit, we got something.
Well, I mean, we always had kind of two types of songs.
Yeah.
Ones that did come out of just sitting around and playing, and then someone would play something, and there's one probably say, "Oh, play that," and I'm gonna play this,
yeah.
And then, so there's a lot of arranging. It was jamming, but it was kind of just kind of finding what the song is and shaping it, and so because we weren't trying to make conventional 3-chord chorus, verse, chorus.
Yeah.
We had a lot of
Springsteen, maybe multiple bridges.
Yeah, we had a lot of freedom.
Yeah. It
so,
sounds like it.
It was fun, and like we came up with this idea of the trilogy, which was it Kissability, and there was a song about the preppy murder in Central Park. What's the third song of the trilogy? Anyway, I should have a.
I have some of the lyrical topics. Well, this is what's so cool about this.
Do you have a song list on you?
Yeah. You don't remember all this song?
I mean, I don't remember them.
Hold on, let's try this one. Let's just do this. I want to try this.
I remember almost certain sides.
Yeah, wait, this would be so much fun, Kim. Hold on, this would be so much fun for me and probably for the listeners too. All right, without you looking, what is track
Oh,
7?
I would never know. No, I would. I mean, who would know that?
I don't know.
I don't listen
I
to
was
the
hoping
record.
you.
I don't listen to the record.
It was Hey Joni.
Okay, but so that was one way of developing the songs. The other was Thurston really started bringing in a lot of riffs,
Yeah,
like Teenage Riot, and so then we would figure out our parts to it and structure the song and figure out what it was and stuff like that.
yeah.
So that was one of those songs. Like if you tell me a lyric, I mean, tell me a title, I can tell you how that song was written.
Let's talk about. Can we talk about Cross the Breeze? Because, and I'll be this sincerely. Besides Bull in the Heather,
Uh-huh.
which was kind of like your, one of your like more mainstream hits. But like Cross the Breeze was a song off this record that literally stopped me in my tracks, and was like, you know, I am a fan of this band now. Like this is a song that, because every album I do, some stuff hits and I listen to it enough, and some stuff I've taken with me.
Mhm.
Like Look Out Joe by Neil Young. I was like, oh, I'm a Neil Young fan for the rest of my life now. When I heard Cross the Breeze, it's just the back and forth, the high, the low. It's like, like tell me about the making of that song, because I'm quite interested. Like, was that a jam?
Um, I think that there was probably like it was very influenced by you know, it was our attempt at metal in a certain way.
Nice. Wait, are you a metal fan? Like,
No, but there was. I'm sorry, my memory is just
no,
so.
you're killing it, dude. I can barely hear you anyway, and I have pink eye.
So
Look at me, I'm a freak.
this God, it'll come to me. Um, Not Metallica, although we liked.
Megadeth,
Yeah,
Slayer.
Slayer.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So yeah, Slayers. We saw them at I think Irving Plaza with their upside down crosses, and they were great. We were into Slayer. That must have been at the same time period. I think.
Yeah, I mean I mean they're. I think at that. Like, check that out, Adam. What album Slayer would be at around that time? Adam's our lookout. Adam, if you see him up there, he's in the back of a comic book store in New Jersey, I think. I don't really know where Adam.
Actually, it's Santa Rosa, California.
Oh,
From
okay. Let's
Brooklyn.
all meet. Let's all go to Tender Greens.
So 86 Rain and Blood came out, 1988 South of Heaven came out. So
Yeah, dude.
those
So
are my
so
big ones.
86, and that's like their best record. So I mean, which is so funny to hear that like Thurston and you are into fucking Slayer, because just so different scenes, man. Like,
Well, we were into all kinds of music. That was,
sure.
we brought like each of us brought our musical influences as we were forming these songs in
Of
a way.
course.
So yeah, we kind of like it was all a vocabulary to draw from was sort of the idea.
Yeah. So when you started writing like Cross the Breeze, how easy did something like that flow out? Who
I
brought the
think
riff
that
in? How did it
actually,
start?
I think that actually happened pretty quickly most of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, looking at the lyrics from some of your songs,
Mhm.
I mean, you have topics about like burnouts, you have the music industry, you have the crack epidemic of the late 80s. And I was looking at kind of like what's going on in the world, during that time in 86. I mean, because I was 6. The Space Shuttle Challenger,
Mhm.
what else? The Chernobyl. Like how, like, I mean, are you guys paying attention to that shit? Is that influencing like what you guys are making?
Mostly not.
We wrote a
Mostly,
triple album about Chernobyl.
I mean, definitely like, of course, the 80s, Reagan, yes. That was like, I mean, the whole hardcore scene was almost
It
like,
was, yeah, anti-reg.
yeah. And, in a way, Daydream Nation, the title is like, you know, basically everyone wanting to escape during that time. So, you know, just like, you know, Reagan's whole thing was like, he didn't want to know about poverty or anything that was negative. He just wanted it to be like a Western and like good guys win and, you know.
Bad guys lose, yeah.
But like The Sprawl, that song's on that record.
Let me check.
That was actually
Track 3.
yeah, that's one of my favorite songs to play live. And that was really influenced by this book I was reading. In fact, I took some lines from there called Stars at Noon. And it's the protagonist is in South America, and she's, you don't know whether she's a hooker or a writer, a journalist. Like and yeah, I don't know. I just really, I kind of like, it was sort of when there were a few songs where I would write taking on a certain persona, basically. And it has kind of a nod in there to, you know, capitalism.
Yeah.
Subtly. And what's left behind, you know, the places left behind. Yeah. Okay, what's another song?
Let me take a look. Let's
Like,
talk.
quiz
Well,
show.
all right. Well, here, let's before I even go through the tracks, what's the easiest song on the record to record? Do you remember? Which one came together the quickest?
Well, in a way, The Sprawl did. I feel like I don't know, it just kind of played itself.
So you're noodling around. You heard a vibe that you dug, and you were like, "Wait, keep with that," or somebody
You know,
brought it in, kind of fully
no, I
formed.
think we developed it together. I don't know. And you know, for me, like, it was always difficult because like the songs that Thurston would come in with riffs, he were the most melodious.
Yeah.
And he, you know, he would have an idea for a singing melody line, and so he would typically sing those. And then the weirder songs, I would end up singing, you know, and it really gave me kind of renewed admiration for Led Zeppelin. You know, like having to sing over like big slabs of like leads and
Yeah.
abstract music. It's not easy to come up with stuff unless it's more spoken or,
Sure.
which is, you know, I'm not a natural singer. I'm kind of a non-singer. So
I think
yeah,
that's
so,
kind of what makes
and
your
then we would kind of come in sometimes with fully formed songs that we would then just put texture on and noise.
Yeah.
So they sounded more like all the other songs.
Do you remember anything being quite difficult, like where you guys were maybe arguing, or it just you spent the most amount of time on something, you know?
Well, I mean, the things were mostly that was a mixing situation. Like mixing as a democracy is not fun.
Yeah.
And Nick really was kind of more like, he wasn't a producer. He was an engineer who mixed with, you know, he mixed the record with us. And typically I would probably be, I think Steve didn't appreciate everyone chiming in about how the drums should sound, but drums affect the whole sound of the song. It's like
100%.
the bedrock. So that was probably very difficult for him because it's his instrument, but
Yeah.
yet it affects so much of everything else.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the main point of contention. And then, you know, Lee and Thurston, like the levels of the guitars always got louder and louder, you know, like, I think often Thurston would come out feeling like when the record came out, like he couldn't hear his guitar, like as much as it should have been. And just things like that. And the bass, of course, you could never hear. Anyway, so it was always, like each person. I mean, as we got on making records, I increasingly had an attitude of, I just wanted to sound musical, like close your eyes and think about how it sounds as a whole and what works. It took a long time to learn that. But yeah, it was mostly we would argue about. And then Lee wanted to remix. We spent a lot of time on one of his songs, which was why we stayed up all night remixing Cool Thing, because I wasn't happy with the vocal or something. So, or maybe we didn't even mix it. I don't know.
It sounds like, like you said, it's like trying to mix it to democracy is quite difficult, but it sounds like in the recording process, there's no arguments other than just like, ooh, try that. I mean, did you have any blowouts making this?
Not really. I mean, Lee, who's very, he likes to like try every certain possibility of the way something could sound. So that could be a point of contention of like, this is taking up a lot of time. Like, because he would inevitably try like a lot of things and then go back to the way it was or whatever. But whatever, it's like some of the times it was good. And it wouldn't have been a problem. It's just that we had a time constraint, so.
What was the time constraint? Like how much did the label give you with and the money? Like
honestly, I don't remember. Like it might have been 2 weeks, or you should interview Paul. Oh, Paul Smith wouldn't. Maybe he would.
No, zoom him in. Get Paul. We have a question. But so you're under
a really good memory actually for things.
So you're under the time constraint. You're getting it done. I mean, when you finish the recording process, you finish the mixing. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about like track listing, which you know so well. How did you guys decide in the order of the songs? Like, did you know immediately that you're like, yo, we got to open with Teenage Riot? Because that's, and then let's put Cross the Breeze on side 2, track 4. I mean, like,
pretty much. I mean, sometimes, it just works out time-wise, balancing things out.
What do you mean? Like by the length of the song?
Well, like you can have only 20 minutes on a side.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we thought of in terms of vinyl still. So
yeah, dude, you guys have to. It has to be on vinyl with.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a double album.
Dude, I want to fucking now. I want to hear this on vinyl. Like I don't want to hear this on some shitty MP3. Like I feel like it's how it's made to be listened to.
Yeah, and so like the trilogy, that was the one side.
That's one side completely. Yeah. Well, no, there's Kissability.
Right. Kissability. That's, what do you want to know? What do you want to know about it?
Oh, well, no, Kissability was on side 4 too. I'm looking at how they broke it down. Right. Teenage Riot, Silver Rocket, The Sprawl, side 1. Cross the Breeze, Eric's Trip, Total Trash, side 2. Side 3, Hey Joni, Providence, Candle, Rain King. And then side 4, Kissability, and then the trilogy.
Right. Wasn't Kissability part of the trilogy?
I mean, I'm just looking at the way they have it listed here. They have the trilogy broken up as The Wonder, Hyperstation, and Eliminator. Excuse me, Junior.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Wonder. That's a fun song to play live.
Is it? How much of this record, I mean, were you guys, have you guys continued to play live? And like, I know you mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said The Sprawl was probably one of your favorites to play live.
Yeah, Teenage Riot, obviously. Eric's Trip, Hey Joni, Candle. We would play those pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And then we had like we did a whole tour of Daydream Nation, and that was interesting because that was really hard. It's like, well, these, you know, it was clearly a different time for us in writing because these songs were so intense.
Yeah.
There's a certain intensity to the whole thing.
Yeah, there is.
I never really thought came across with a record, but live it was such a different.
Oh my God, I would love this. I mean, like I would love to see you guys play this record in its entirety.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the songs we Kissability would play, I guess, sometimes. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about after the record. So you finish the recording,
Mhm.
you master it, do the track sequencing, put it out into the world. Did you have any idea, or how shocked were you when immediately there's all this critical acclaim and you guys are suddenly it's like a critical darling?
Mhm. Yeah, it was actually very surprising.
Really?
Well, one, we made a double album. I don't know, it was just totally surprising, actually.
What surprised you the most? Because I mean, this is your fifth record. I mean, at this point, you have a following. You're signed to a major label now. It's like that's kind of the evolution of what a band wants. Because I mean, it's like, I mean, dude, the fact that years later now it's in the Library of Congress. I mean, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
When you guys are just some band in New York City that's putting this album together, you know, in a basement with Flava Flav.
Yeah, I mean, I think in part because, like, we always felt frustrated that we could never duplicate the power of the live sound, and people would say that to us, you know, from like, and even though we're like, well, yeah, you're listening out of huge speakers, you know, it's a completely different experience. I don't know if we probably just, I don't think I thought of Daydream Nation as, I think we thought it was something special. It was like special to us. And I think at that point, I wasn't really thinking about it in any other ways.
So do you find that, do you feel like this is your
Oh,
most
right before this, actually, we had done the Whitey album.
Yeah.
Jaconi Youth, which was completely, we wanted to make a record just made up in the studio, like just going in and seeing what comes out and just making stuff up.
Yeah.
And I actually really didn't enjoy that experience. In fact, I kind of stayed away a lot because they're just like Thurston and Lee just sitting at the board doing shit for hours. I don't know. It just wasn't that much fun. So that's why I did Addicted to Love at a karaoke place on St. Mark's and some other song, Two Cool Rock Chicks Listening to Noi in my apartment.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So that was a weird kind of, I felt like almost a coming apart of the band for me in a certain way. Like,
You said, wait, did you say coming apart of the band?
just for me in a certain way, like it didn't feel like so much a band experience, you know, of like communally making something. Yeah. So when we started writing songs for Daydream Nation, it was a little bit, I don't know, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Like, it was just like, what are we going to do? Like,
yeah. So, you know, it's been, I mean, how long has it been? 36 years later. And, you know, like, how do you feel about this record now? I mean, re-listening to it and, you know, the cultural impact that it had. I mean, I couldn't even imagine. Like, I hear so many different bands. Like, I hear Nirvana in this. I hear TV on the radio. It's there's so many artists that I didn't even realize are literally, growing up with this or just so inspired by. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on this record now after kind of like re-listening to it?
I mean, I've been listening to it for a really long time. In fact, probably since I listened to the mastering of it. Or
Really? So
relearning,
you do the Johnny Depp style, you make it and you never watch it?
relearning the songs, Well, it's just when you start playing the songs live, they take on a different life. And they're kind of inside you, and it's so
Sure, yeah, the feel.
But I suppose I listened to it when we were relearning how to play it. And I don't know, the main thing was really how, in some way, I'm like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought.
Really?
Like things like my singing, it'll be like, oh, I don't want to hear my voice, or
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, it's all right. But some things are kind of cringy to me personally.
What do you find cringy?
I don't know. I don't remember specifically, but just like a certain vulnerability in some things.
Does it just remind you too much of like, what was going on, relationships, love, this, that, the other thing? Is that it? Or is it just getting older and then looking back at something that you said and like, and instead of me just saying it to somebody, you have it recorded?
I think it's just more of like making, like just lyrics or singing it so weird, like just kind of unconventional and just, and thinking about the songs as individually, sometimes you don't think of it as a whole record. Like until you get an order to a record, it's just a bunch of songs until you get the right order. I find that's kind of almost my favorite part of
putting it together.
Yes, the ordering. So I'd have to sit down and like listen to it or something all the way through to feel, like.
Well, can I tell you something? It rules.
Okay.
It fucking rules.
Yeah.
Like, I mean it, man. I've been doing this podcast 3.5 years. I'm not just saying this because you're on the podcast. It's like, I get it. Like, I get why Sonic Youth is talked about in the discussion of I mean, and I don't even know how to, what like art rock, noise rock, whatever. I know all those, it's just the same shit as calling like grunge music grunge when it's really just the sound of rock and roll in Seattle.
Right.
But it creates a vibe to me. And especially now that I've lived in LA 14 years and I moved to New York, it's like it hits different listening to this record in New York on a walk from Gramercy to the West Village. It's a very, I mean, what do you think? Do you think the city is another member, a fifth member of the band?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, the city and its kind of lineage of music, like from new music and jazz to no wave and of the Velvet Underground and Tony Conrad.
Has anybody told you, let me ask you this, has anybody that, some of the artists that came after you, anybody ever come up to you and told you that this record is important, inspired them, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing is it wasn't until we relearned the songs and played them live that I understood. There was definitely like, just like such an intensity about the record and everything that went into those songs that it struck me. I understood why people liked it.
Yeah. I mean,
but also like, we were influenced by, you asked about what was going on around the time, but so like Public Image. I mean, that was really exciting to hear them, and kind of
I hear, you know, it's funny. It's funny that you say that. You're talking about Public Image Ltd.
mhm.
Yeah. So
I mean, Public Enemy. Did I say
oh,
Public?
Public Enemy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I thought you were because
We we
I don't
were
know. I
influenced
don't.
by Public Image.
Well,
Definitely. When
Public
we
Image
started
Ltd.
playing.
We
Yeah.
did Metal Box early on in this podcast,
Oh,
which, in a sense, and I know it's so funny that you brought that because I never even would have thought about it. I don't know if that record influenced you guys at all, but I can hear so many elements of the
Yeah.
raw, the noise, the I mean, whereas this record actually has choruses and melodies,
yeah.
where Metal Box fucking is just, I mean, it's noise. But let me say this: after my 8th listen, I said it's the punk rock bitches brew, and it's a fucking great record. I stand by that, listeners.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was when we first started. They were a huge influence.
Yeah. I can tell.
Definitely. Not by the time we did Daydream Nation, I don't think we weren't thinking about them, obviously. But just initially when we started, we were listening to them, and yeah.
That's so crazy. It's so funny, Kim, is that like I talked about doing that record. Like I hated it at first. I think I was like 7 listens in, and I was like, this just. And then one morning I woke up humming that song Pop Tunes, and then I put it back on, and I was like, this is the greatest record I've ever heard in my life. This is incredible. And now I see, because I was still like, why is that record on the 500 greatest albums list?
Right.
And then, 2.5, almost 3 years later, sitting down and talking to you about this album, it all makes sense. Without them, there's no you. I think that's really fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't give him that much credit.
I mean,
I mean, because we weren't literally like, it was more like, not that record specifically, actually, but
Okerson wanted me to ask you about the crossover with Cypress Hill on the Judgment Night soundtrack, which was such a fucking cool record, Kim, because I mean, Adam, maybe you could check this math. Like, I don't even know if like Rage Against the Machine has done it, yet. I do know Faith No More did Epic, which was badass, and I mean, there were like, maybe it was like the Anthrax, Public Enemy, Bring the Noise. I think probably had come out by that time. But like, do you have any stories about that, or do you have any idea that you'd be making the first album of rap and rock together?
Well, I think it was kind of inspired by that Aerosmith and Run DMC, right?
Yeah, fuck, I forgot about that.
Well, we were into Cypress Hill. We didn't want to make a bad Cypress Hill song, so we let them kind of take the lead. And then it was weird because I think we were expected to just like do our noise bit somehow, which I was not necessarily a whole fan of, like the rock and rap thing. I don't feel like it works all the time. Like it's hard to.
It doesn't. It doesn't a lot.
Yeah, but anyway, Thurston I think sat in the control room with
Be Real
and
the other dude, the other guy, Send Dog. Insane in the brain. That dude rules.
There was a lot of ganja smoked, listening to like the low end of the kick drum for many hours. Like it was really kind of insane. And Be Real laid, I think, he laid something down, I think, and then it was actually Thurston he came up with the lyric for me, and I did that. It was a nice hook, I thought.
It's great.
And Be Real kept getting mad at Sendog. Come on, dude, come up with something. Like he's like he couldn't.
I'm too high. Be Real. Chill.
But
stop harshing my mellow.
But anyway, it was fun. Like I liked the song a lot.
I love it. I think that album, like, first of all, I mean, I don't know if you ever talked to Emilio Estevez, and don't let this get back to him. That movie was straight butt cheeks. The
Huh,
soundtrack to it was
huh,
fucking fun. Dude, the fucking Mike Patton or Faith No More and Booyah Tribe.
yeah. I
Ah,
want to re-listen to that record. I don't actually remember what the movie was at all.
movies about like four dudes in downtown LA getting lost and being scared of people in a lower class system. That's the movie. Linus, you're ruining our podcast.
Hold on, my friend's here.
Here, bring them in.
Hi, John.
Hi, Kim.
Sorry, I'm on a podcast.
John,
Linus, here, give me some treats.
John, give Linus treats. All right, let's wrap it up. You got friends here. All right, so Kim, first of all, and I mean that sincerely, like, please come to one of my shows. I would love to meet you. I'd love to entertain you in some way for it's kind of as a way to say thank you, because I mean it, man. Like, I listened to that record. I've gone back and listened to pretty much all of your records at this point. Oh, speaking of which, before we get into the rapid questions, you do, if I'm not mistaken, you do have a new record coming out. Yes, you do, at Issue.
I don't have a new record coming out. I don't think. I don't. I have a solo record that came out.
Yes, at Issue,
For the pandemic.
recording of live performance you gave with Lauren Connors.
Oh, right. That came out this year. A few months ago. Yeah, and then we played together a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Anything you want to like promote?
I mean, he's great. It's just like he's in, kind of a legend in the downtown experimental improv world, and we played recently in this cathedral, and check it out. It's on a French label.
Are there any bands or any artists that you want to recommend to our listeners to check out that is inspiring you right now?
Well, I like Six Day, this woman Haley.
Uh-huh.
She's great.
Okay.
She has an amazing voice, and it's just kind of it's an experience for music.
Any TV shows you're watching right now?
Oh man.
You an Ozark fan?
People I should try and watch that again. It was so stressful that I stopped. And
It's whatever.
After
It's,
the
you know what I realized, Kim? But that's the same show as Breaking Bad. The public likes watching white people that have boring jobs get involved with people with scary jobs. It's like, let's get a cupcake chef and combine them with the Yakuza and see what happens tonight on Bluetooth.
Yeah. I mean, I've been watching Pam and Tommy.
Dude, my ex-girlfriend is married to Tommy Lee now. Isn't that crazy?
Really amazing.
Yeah. And I
The guy who plays him is great.
Oh my God, dude, the girl that's playing Pam is killing it. And if only Tommy Lee would have just paid that dude, the sex tape wouldn't have gotten out there. And I don't know if you agree with me on this, but the reason the show rules is because they keep showing penis. Like, the fact that they can cuss and they keep showing penises, I'm like, this is great, because it's like, it's not some crappy, FX or like, they didn't water it down by instead of saying fuck, they say frick.
Right.
All right, let's do some rapid questions. You can hang out with John, and Kim, I mean this sincerely. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh yeah, I didn't actually realize this was a podcast situation.
What'd you think it was?
I don't know. It was someone said an interview for The Guardian. I don't know. Maybe that's some other interview. Sorry.
Well, actually, maybe you could call The Guardian, and I could get a writing job.
It was great to meet you. And
dude, you rule. I mean I mean this, Kim. Like, for real. Like, please come to a show, dude. I do dope shit, and I think you're dope, and I would love to be friends with you. Especially, I want to find out how you grill hot dogs.
yeah, I'd like to find out how I do that too.
All right, here we go. I ask these same questions to everybody that comes on the podcast. Okay. What's your favorite song on this record?
Oh wow. I guess I would have to say The Sprawl.
The Sprawl? Why? Just the thoughts, the memories.
I don't know, just fun to play live. Like
Right on.
it's the atmosphere of it. And,
Right on. Right on. Least favorite song on this record.
I don't know. I don't have a least favorite.
Okay.
I think the whole thing as a whole.
For sure. For sure. All right. I ask everybody this question, so I'm going to ask you, what song on this record would you fuck to?
Oh, probably none of them. Never fucked to my own music.
I mean, but if you, all right, but how about this? If you had to DJ like an Eyes Wide Shut sex party, if you had to DJ at Eyes Wide Shut sex party and you have to play, they're like, you got to play something off of a Daydream Nation. I'm a big fan of it. Well, what song would you put on for people to have sex to?
The Wonder.
And last question. I mean, do you think this deserves to be on the 500 greatest albums list? And I know that's weird because one, lists are stupid. You know, for the most part, they're never right. This should be lower. This should be higher. It doesn't make a difference. But, you know, coming from you, someone that made it, someone that lived it, and someone that saw the critical acclaim and you know, 36 years later, I mean, do you feel the impact? Do you feel this is important? And do you think it deserves to be on this list?
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Any follow up or just hell yeah?
I'm not gonna say what position. I don't even know what. I don't know the 500 list. I don't even know
What's the number, Adam?
So today's episode is number 328. So right behind you at 329 was James Brown's In the Jungle Groove, and ahead of you is Liz Phair's Exile in Guyville.
See, that would piss me off. That's all it's worth. Jesus Christ.
Dude, but wait, didn't it adjust? Didn't it go up?
So let's see here. It did jump 157 spots to 171 on the 2020 re-rank, just ahead of Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water. So
Wow. Okay. That's more impressive to me.
Dude. Paul Simon can cram it with walnuts. Garfunkel's the man. But see, that's what I'm saying. It jumped up because the younger generation made that new list. And so
Right. As time goes by,
dude. Yeah, let me let you get out of here. Kim, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. Anything you want to promote? Anything, please.
oh man. Oh, I have a book I co-edited coming out in April. It's a book of essays by different women writers, some authors. And it's with Sinead Gleason.
Mhm.
The title is Women's Work. I think that's
Right on. Everybody check it out. Thank you, darling.